Hi, we are going to review making a snowflake using geometry nodes. I started with a curved line to make a depth using a profile. When I built a radial symmetry by joining 6 rotated copies of the line. We need resample curve to set a different random radius for each segment. I used the mesh line to make several copies of the curved line, which will grow from the central one. The left side was copied to the right by the transform node. After it was set up, it was a part of starting adding complexity. I wanted to set the different radius for each line. To get this, you need to put the ID that corresponds to each line in a random node. I've found that the capture attribute with spline setting returns an ID related to each spline. It is important to insert it in the node graph after realize instances, because before realizing it has only instances data. After we had got the radius, I multiplied it by the random value. Disabling soft shading is important to get a crystal look. And also I made sharp ends. Then I started making a growth effect. Using math nodes, I tried to get the ID of each point in the curve and then squished these values to the 0-1 interval, so that I have 1 at the beginning and 0 at the end of each curve. Then I used an RGB curve to convert this value to a nice shape which grows faster at the beginning. I tried using the second capture attribute because the capture attribute gives IDs only for one mirrored part. And at this point, I understood that it is simpler to set radius before symmetry. I added a separate node for central branch and side branches. Then it was time to make growth effect. I just simply add a number to move the RGB curve shape along the branches. We need to trim negative values using the maximum function. It is important also to shift this effect depending on the spline index. The same thing I made for a central branch. But I had to reverse the vertex order. It is also important to rotate secondary branches at 60 degrees, because of the crystal structure. The last thing was to trim secondary branches so that they don't intersect each other. I removed part of the lines by separate geometry. As you see, you can use less than to cut vertex by indexes. And I spent some time figuring out how to get only the part that I wanted. After achieving this task, I understood that trimming lines break the growing effect, so I had to move it after setting the curve radius. That's all for geometry nodes. I replaced the curve with a custom one and set material and scene. Final tweaks and exposing more controls into the group input, and our Snowflake is ready. Thanks for watching.